Touch has a power that many men underestimate. It's not just a tool for physical pleasure, but a deep form of emotional communication. When you touch with intention, when every caress comes from awareness rather than urgency, you send a message that goes straight to a woman's nervous system, to her most primal and emotional core. There's a big difference between touching to get a reaction and touching to create a feeling. The first seeks a result, the second builds connection, and it's that invisible yet powerful connection that leaves a mark on her mind and makes her think of you even when you're not there. Women don't remember as much what a man says as how he makes them feel. Every touch carries a different meaning depending on where, how, and with what energy it's given. It's not the touch itself that captivates her, but the intention she feels behind it. A man who masters his energy, who knows how to read the female body and touch with presence, can awaken deep emotions that go far beyond any physical stimulus. Because a woman's body doesn't respond to uncontrolled desire, it responds to conscious desire. In this video, I'm going to show you the 7 irresistible touches that can make a woman obsessed with you, not because you imitate them, but because you understand them. You'll learn what lies behind each touch, what each area of the body communicates, and how the female mind translates physical contact into emotion and attachment. But before we get into those 7 points, I need to explain why a touch with intention can change everything, how energy transfer works, why certain areas awaken trust or desire, and how the female body reacts psychologically to conscious touch. Because understanding that is what turns you into a man who doesn't touch to conquer, but conquers with every touch. Touching a woman isn't a physical act, it's an exchange of energy. Every caress carries a hidden message that her body translates into sensations, emotions, and memories. The skin is the largest organ of the human body, but also one of the most emotional. Every stroke, every bit of pressure, every movement sends signals to the brain that activate areas linked to pleasure, trust, and attachment. When a man touches with intention, fully aware of his energy, his presence multiplies. It's no longer just his hand touching her, it's his attention, his calm, his controlled desire. That combination leaves an emotional imprint that a woman's body remembers even more than words. The difference between an ordinary touch and an intentional one lies in the quality of focus. Most men touch in a rush, looking for an immediate reaction. But a woman doesn't connect with speed or urgency, she connects with depth. When she feels the touch isn't meant to take, but to give, her mind relaxes. She feels she can surrender to the sensation because there's no pressure, only presence. That's when something fascinating happens. Her body begins to release oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin, the same chemicals linked to love, trust, and emotional addiction. A single well-given caress can have more impact than 100 rehearsed lines. The energy exchange happens invisibly. When you touch without intention, you transmit nothing. But when you do it from a calm state, your energy aligns and becomes perceptible. She can feel your temperature, your heartbeat, your breathing. Her body syncs with yours without either of you planning it. It's biological and emotional harmony. There's no performance, no perfect technique. What makes her respond is the vibration of your internal state. If your mind is anxious, your touch will be anxious. If you're calm, your touch will be magnetic. That's why before you touch her, the first caress begins within you. The psychology behind touch runs deep. Neurological studies show that a slow caress between 3 and 5 centimeters per second activates a specific group of nerve fibers called C-tactile fibers, designed to process affectionate, not sexual, pleasure. In other words, when you touch slowly and intentionally, you're not just stimulating her skin, you're speaking directly to her limbic system, the part of the brain that governs emotion, trust, and attachment. That's the key to lasting desire. Women don't become obsessed with the man who touches them, but with the one who makes them feel safe while he does. That's why nothing is more powerful than a conscious touch, to touch without need, without expectation, without haste. to touch with respect, with focus, and with steady, non-anxious energy. A woman can sense when a man is in control of himself, when his desire is guided, not ruling over him. That balanced masculine energy draws her in because it gives her something rare: direction, containment, presence. It's the kind of energy that lingers long after the skin is no longer in contact. And now that you understand the psychological and emotional power of touch, focus on the first part of a woman's body where this kind of caress has an immediate and profound effect: her face. Because caressing the face doesn't just awaken tenderness, it awakens emotional connection. And if you know how to do it, it can be the beginning of a bond she'll never forget. The face is the mirror of emotion, the place where the mind and soul reveal themselves without words. When a man caresses a woman's face with intention, he's touching something far deeper than her skin. He's touching her emotional history. That area holds the memories of affection, vulnerability, and tenderness. Since childhood, touch on the face, on the cheeks, the jawline, the temples, has been associated with care, protection, and love. That's why, when a woman feels that kind of caress, her body reacts instinctively. Her nervous system interprets it as a gesture of connection and calm. If you do it with presence and gentleness, without roughness or haste, her breathing changes, her gaze softens, and her mind begins to let down its guard. The face is an emotional landscape because it's packed with a dense network of nerve endings. Each area conveys a different message. The cheeks respond to affection, the jaw to trust, and the temples to relaxation. When you slowly trace your fingers along her face, from her hairline down to her chin, you're not provoking, you're communicating. You're silently saying, "You can let go, you're safe, I see you." And when a woman feels seen rather than merely desired, her body responds with a kind of emotional openness that no direct physical stimulus can match. The key lies in intention. It's not about touching to advance, it's about touching to connect. A touch on the face must come from calm, grounded energy, as if your hand were holding something fragile yet precious. Your gaze should accompany the gesture, no demand, no expectation. In that moment, energy aligns, her breathing syncs with yours, her mind relaxes, and her body begins to release endorphins and oxytocin, the hormones of comfort and attachment. That feeling both confuses and draws her in, because she doesn't feel threatened, she feels held. And being held, when it comes from a grounded man, becomes addictive. This kind of caress doesn't aim to dominate or provoke, it builds emotional trust. Touching the face creates a silent intimacy. You're speaking without saying a word. That's why it's so powerful. Because women don't just seek passion, they seek to feel understood without having to explain themselves. If you master this form of touch, if you learn to caress her face without anxiety, and with the calm of someone who's simply enjoying the moment, she'll remember that feeling long after your hand is gone. It's not the caress itself that captivates her, it's the way you made her feel seen, cared for, and understood. That sensation imprints itself on her body and her mind. And when a woman can't stop thinking about how she felt with you, she doesn't need any more proof. You've already won her over. Now that you understand the emotional power of the face, let's move to a place where the energy shifts, where desire begins to take form and the body starts speaking a more primal, sensual language. Pay close attention to the neck, because that's where one of the most delicate, symbolic, and erotic zones of the female body resides. The neck is one of the most powerful areas of the female body because it connects two worlds, the mind and the body. It's the bridge between reason and emotion. When a man caresses a woman's neck with subtlety and control, he's not merely provoking physical pleasure, he's awakening a deep emotional response tied to trust, surrender, and desire. The neck represents vulnerability. It's exposed, sensitive, and instinctively protected. That's why when she allows you to touch it, she's giving more than her skin. She's giving her trust. And if you handle that trust with respect, it transforms into desire. The psychology of the neck is fascinating. It's packed with nerve endings and sensory receptors directly connected to the limbic system, the part of the brain that processes emotion. A slow touch in that area, especially behind the ear or along the side, triggers an immediate change in her breathing, pulse, and muscle tone. Her body interprets that touch as a mix of calm and alertness. Calm because she feels cared for, alert because desire begins to awaken. It's the point where affection and attraction merge. And if you do it with control, she melts without even realizing it. The mistake many men make is treating the neck as a purely erotic zone. It's not about intensity or urgency. The key is in the pause. The touch should be so slow it feels as if time itself has stopped. The warmth of your hand, the brush of your fingers, or even the nearness of your breath can have more impact than any overt gesture. What truly ignites a woman isn't the touch itself. It's the feeling that you know exactly what you're doing, that you're savoring the moment without haste, without needing to move forward, simply enjoying her presence. Psychologically, when a woman feels a controlled, intentional touch on her neck, her brain releases oxytocin and dopamine simultaneously. That combination is unique. The first creates attachment, the second pleasure. That's why this kind of caress makes her feel emotionally connected and physically drawn to you at the same time. She can't rationalize it, she just feels it. And that's where obsession begins. Because her mind links that sensation to both safety and arousal, two elements that rarely coexist in the same experience. To do it right, maintain balance between presence and subtlety. Your breathing should be slow, your gaze steady, your energy contained. You don't need strength or immediate reaction. Let her body speak. Let her shoulders drop, her breath shift. When done properly, the neck becomes a silent channel where your masculine energy connects with her most instinctive femininity. When a woman associates you with that balance between desire and calm, there's no comparison. She won't remember your words or gestures. She'll remember how her body responded to the simple feeling of your hand or your breath on her neck. That sensory memory imprints itself in her nervous system and stays with her long after you're gone. And now that you understand the power of the neck as the doorway to emotional desire, it's time to move to a different kind of touch, one that doesn't just awaken attraction, but communicates something even stronger: protection. Because when you touch her there, you're not only desiring her, you're making her feel safe. Let's talk about the lower back. There's a kind of touch that communicates not only desire, but also safety, and that's the one placed on the lower back. Few men understand how powerful this area is in a woman's psychology. It's not an overtly sexual touch, but it carries deep meaning. Touching her there, with intention and control, conveys an ancient message, one of guidance, protection, and calm authority. When you place your hand on the small of her back, right where the spine ends and the hips begin, her body interprets that gesture as a silent affirmation. You can trust me, I'm leading. She doesn't analyze it, she just feels it. The human brain is wired to respond to gestures that evoke care and direction. In women, touch in this area activates regions of the limbic system linked to feelings of belonging and emotional safety. It's a place charged with evolutionary symbolism. Throughout history, a man's hand on a woman's lower back has represented protection, leadership, and connection. It's not about force, it's about energy. A firm but non-invasive hand conveys authority. A rough one conveys control. The difference lies in the quality of your presence. The key is in the intention behind your touch. If you do it consciously, slowly, with an energy that radiates calm and direction, she feels it instantly. You don't need to say a word or make any grand gestures. That simple contact creates a bridge between her emotional trust and her physical desire. In a social setting, for example, a brief protective touch on her lower back as you walk or move through a crowd can have a powerful effect. Her body relaxes, her mind associates you with steadiness, and her subconscious begins to link your presence with safety. That kind of bond isn't built with words, it's felt at a biological level. From a psychological perspective, a man who touches this area properly projects mature masculinity, the kind that doesn't need to impose or dominate. It's the energy of a guide, not a conqueror. And women respond to that kind of leadership with a blend of calm and attraction. Because when a man knows how to hold, he knows how to care. And when he can care without losing his strength, he awakens the kind of trust that allows a woman to surrender emotionally. The energy you transmit through this touch comes from your center. If you're present, if your breathing is steady, and your touch is firm but not possessive, she'll feel she can trust you, even if she doesn't consciously realize why. This isn't a touch meant to provoke. It's a touch meant to affirm, you're with me, you're safe. And that feeling, for a woman, isn't easily forgotten. The lower back is one of those places that creates connection more than instant desire. It's the kind of contact that makes her feel emotionally protected before she feels physically wanted. And when you awaken that sense of safety, desire becomes deeper, because it stops being superficial and turns into connection. And now that you understand how a touch can communicate protection and trust without words, it's time to focus on another point that creates a different kind of bond: the hands. Because touching her hands isn't just a romantic gesture, it's the most direct way to synchronize your energy with hers. Hands are an extension of the heart. They don't just touch, they feel, transmit, and synchronize. When you hold a woman's hands, you create an invisible bridge between her energy and yours. Psychologically, hand contact activates the same brain circuits involved in emotional bonding, the ones that generate feelings of calm, belonging, and connection. It's such a simple gesture that many underestimate it, yet it's one of the most powerful because it blends closeness, tenderness, and presence. There's no rush, no tension, only connection. When a man knows how to use his hands consciously, he can access a woman's emotional world without saying a single word. Touching hands has a regulating effect on the nervous system. Studies in effective psychology have shown that when someone holds another person's hands with a slow, gentle rhythm and without pressure, the body releases oxytocin and lowers cortisol, the stress hormone. That means your touch can literally calm her mind. So when you intertwine your fingers, glide your thumb slowly over the back of her hand, or simply hold it in silence, you're creating a bubble of emotional safety. That blend of calm and closeness awakens her desire to connect with you, not out of need, but from emotional affinity. But there's an even deeper layer. Hands also communicate intention. The difference between a man who touches to possess and one who touches to connect is felt within seconds. If your energy is anxious or your mind is focused on what you want to get, her body will tense, even if she smiles. But if your focus is on enjoying the moment, feeling her skin, her warmth, her breath, her body responds by opening up. Hands are the body's most honest interface. They reveal your true energy. When you caress her gently, she feels your inner rhythm. If your breathing is steady and your energy centered, her hands will adapt, her pulse will start to match yours. That synchrony is magnetic, and it's one of the reasons women so vividly remember the men who touch them from a place of calm. In the psychology of touch, hands also symbolize cooperation. When you take her hand during ordinary moments, crossing the street, walking together, talking, you're communicating presence. You're including her in your space. It's not a gesture of control, but of inclusion. That touch subconsciously reminds her that she's not alone. And that kind of connection, when genuine, creates a quiet bond that can last much longer than physical desire. In conscious seduction, caressing the hands serves a dual purpose: to relax and to awaken. When her hands soften in yours, her mind opens, her breathing slows, and her focus shifts entirely to you. That's the power of an intentional touch, to make time feel as if it has stopped. It's not the caress itself that matters, but what it communicates. It doesn't seek stimulation, it seeks presence. And presence is the most powerful aphrodisiac there is. Hands are the perfect prelude to any deeper connection. Through them, you can adjust intensity, invite silence, and guide the energy of the moment. Because when she feels your touch, firm yet serene, her body understands she's with a man who controls his impulses. And self-control, in a woman's eyes, is one of the most irresistible forms of desire. And now that you understand how touch through the hands creates synchrony and emotional trust, it's time to shift your attention to a more intimate kind of caress, one that blends tenderness and desire, care and attraction. The touch in her hair, where emotion and sensuality intertwine in a way her mind will never forget.